All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. Today we are going to be going over some home care agency growth tools. Particularly, this is a question that I keep getting asked a lot on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on different social media platforms and emails. It's what are the expenses? What do I actually need to run the business? So I decided to come up with this quick training webinar on understanding the monthly break even. Today we are going to cover what is breaking even, why it's so important, and we're going to go over some typical expenses that you're going to find in a private duty home care agency. All right, so getting started, I'm Julio Briones. I'm the founder and CEO of Briones Consulting Group. I'm an Alzheimer's and dementia care trainer, certified business and entrepreneurship coach, professional workshop facilitator, and a certified dementia practitioner. All right, my career, it's over 20 years in the home care industry. I've done every job in the back office in home care. I've been a recruiter, a coordinator, office manager. I've run individual sales and run entire sales teams. Eventually, my career took me into corporate training as a franchise business consultant, and ultimately into private consulting. All right. So let me go on here. So all right. So welcome everyone. All right. So drop a comment down below and let us know if you're watching. Say hi. We'll be answering questions as we go along. So if you have something, in theory I should be able to see it. All right. So, in the words of Benjamin Franklin, you have to beware of little expenses. Small leaks will sink a great ship. So why is that kind of important for you to know? Well, if you're not managing your money and you're not managing your cash flow, you're going to run into just some serious issues along the way. And, there's really two major milestones any business needs to try to achieve. Doesn't matter if you are private duty, if you're Medicaid. I don't care if you're selling in oranges off the freeway. The end of the day, you want to be able to first hit that monthly break even on your way to hitting overall break even. This is incredibly important because a couple of things about monthly break even. That's the point where what you're bringing in is equal to what you got going out. All right, and that's really that simple. Take your gross profits, when those equal your expenses, three things will happen. Okay. Number one, you're gonna be able to breathe. All right, look, starting a business is incredibly stressful. I know this, I've done this, I have helped open, well over 40 agencies over the last few years, from zero to break even to profitable. And let me tell you, that moment is probably the best moment in any home care owner's life, the minute that the money stops coming out of their pocket. All right, and being able to take that breath also is going to allow you to better manage your cash flow. Because you have a clear handle on your expenses at this point. You know what's going on, you know how much money's coming in, you know exactly how much money's going out, and all of this is going to ultimately allow you to plan for growth and move on ahead. All right, so let's go over some of your more common expenses when we're talking about private home care. All right, so we're going to go down. Some of these are going to be common sense. I'm still going to explain them to you anyway, just because it's just because it's what makes the most sense. All right, so number one is your rent. And wherever you're doing business, even if you're started your business out of your living room, you're still same thing. You have to understand that you got rent to pay. Your business is taking up space. If you are out of your home, then take that into account as a percentage of um, of your overall rent. If you are renting an office space, it makes it a lot easier, which I'm going to tell you, I understand money's tight sometimes, but renting an office space is always professionally just better. All right. The next thing that's pretty common, again, very self-explanatory, we're talking about your utilities. All right. More times than not, you'll have to either pay, some percentage of the taxes, if that's a thing where you're renting. You might have to pay your light bill, you have phone bill, you have a number of utilities you have to cover. You're also going to have to worry about insurance. General liability is only where it begins. Okay, you have to understand you're going to have workman's comp, you're going to have unowned vehicle. There's a whole lot of insurances that you need to have in place, and you need to make sure you're properly covered. Not just you, but that you're covered, your business is covered. You got to make sure your caregivers are covered, and you even got to make sure that you're properly insured, properly bonded, in the event that, God forbid, one of your caregivers does something to your client, like steals from them or something. It can happen. Even if it didn't happen and there's an accusation, you need to be prepared for this. You don't want to have to take on that expense on your own. Right. The next thing we're going to talk about is technology and operations costs. You have to have scheduling software. Whatever company you use, you got to pay for that. You have to worry about background checks. You have to worry about different web apps. Like, let's say you use QuickBooks Online, you got to pay for that. All of these things add up, and they all go into your overall monthly expenses. And for those of you that are watching, hang out to the very end of this. I'm actually going to go through a sample of break-even calculation so you can see what this is actually going to look like when it's all said and done. All right, next we're looking at professional services. All right, I'll stick with the most obvious because I'm going to plug myself a little bit. But do you have a consultant? Those are things you have to take into account. But aside from the shameful plug here, what about an accountant, an attorney? What about your payroll processing fees? Those are all professional services that you have to take into account. Some of these are fixed, some are variable from month to month. So you have to understand that as your business grows, so are your expenses. They're also going to grow. What about your office payroll? Even if you're brand new, you should have at least one person, even if it's a part-timer, helping you out. And as your business grows, that office payroll expense grows along with it. Here's another side question that we'll do another training if I get enough interest in the topic down the road. Do you know what the return on investment is on your coordinators? What about the return on investment from your caregivers? Like, you're putting money in to hire, train, recruit, retain people. How much are you actually getting in value off of them? Okay. So beyond that, here's one expense that most people fail to recognize when they're figuring out what the business is going to cost them. What is the owner's salary? Listen, you want to start a business, but you need to live. And until your business starts producing that amount of money, do you have enough saved up to cover your basic living expenses and to maintain your quality of life for 3 months, 6 months, a year, however long it takes for your business to start turning profitable? All right, see, you have to understand this. Oh, okay. Oh my God, I think I was just talking all this time. Can I get a check here? Have you guys been able to hear me this time? Just give me a thumbs up or something if you're watching this. Have you been able to hear me? Huh. All right, I'm going to assume that we are that we're all doing well here, and we are able to hear me. All right, fantastic, fantastic. Okay. All right, so the owners payroll. Again, what do you need to live? So, that's an expense, and that's part of the startup fee that people don't take into account when they're figuring all of this out. So, people think that, oh, okay, I just need, $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 so I can get my basic LLC, and then I can just get my, you know, get my LLC, get my business license, go find somebody to do up a quick logo for me, and we're good to go. The fact is, you again, as I said a moment ago, you have to live. Did you leave a 50, 60, 70, 80, $100,000 a year job? Now, here's something that you got to keep in mind when it comes to um, ownership payroll. At the end of the day, um, if you're taking the role of an office manager in a home care agency, that does not mean that you're going to be able to take $100,000 a year salary out of your business day one. Okay, I mean, unless you've got 70, 80, $100,000 put away. The fact is, you want to look for what is the comparable rate for the position you are taking, and that's what you want to designate as your personal pay. Okay, so I'll use because my office is in New Jersey, I'll use New Jersey as an example. Your typical office manager will make between $40,000 and $60,000 a year. 70,000 on the really high end of the scale here. But what are you going to do in the meantime here? I mean, you have to understand that if you're used to making 100K a year at your previous job, the most you're going to take is whatever the market value is for that position. All right, because the business cannot produce more than what it's meant to produce. I mean, it might down the road, but not right away. All right, so that's just something to keep in mind when it comes to that. So moving along from that, do you have a company vehicle that you're using? Okay. Do you have a company vehicle? That's a big thing you want to actually keep in mind here a little bit. If you are, that expense goes towards the business. Now, I'm going to take this again one step further. If you're using your business, if you are a brand new agency and you're using your car to market the business, then part of that car payment needs to be considered as a business expense. You still have to get gas. You still have to put insurance on the car. You still are putting wear and tear and mileage and all of this other stuff into your vehicle. All right. So one way or the other, you're going to have to pay for that. Either it's a designated company vehicle or it's your own vehicle that you're putting into there. Now, another big expense is your recruitment and retention. You know, so how much are you spending to recruit caregivers? Do you have a retention policy in place? So all of this adds up, and all of this goes into business growth and getting your business off the ground. In the beginning of your business, you're very lopsided. Your recruitment is going to be way up here because you never stop recruiting and you never stop trying to sell. Okay, so from day one, you're taking those applications, you're recruiting, 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 just trying to get people in the door, and your client base is down here. But after a while, that's going to tip. Okay, so your business development, marketing, and advertising, all of these expenses are constantly going to be juggled. Sometimes you spend a little more on one than the other, but you have to be prepared for all of this. All right. And then finally, your licensing, whatever memberships you have. Are you a member of the Chamber of Commerce? Are you a member of the Home Care Association? Are you the local chapter, the National Home Care Association? Are you a franchisee? Do you have franchise fees? All of this has to be taken into account as we're moving along and trying to figure out what our break-even point is. All right. So those are the typical expenses, and this is essentially how we're gonna go through. Now, before we go, let me go ahead and share another thing here with you guys. And we're going to actually run through live example. This is actually one I did with a client not too long ago. All right, and let's walk through this. All right, so when we're looking through, so let's take our rent at $800, $200 of $250 utilities, $2,000 for insurance. Let's assume we're not a franchise for the sake of this example. All right, but in here you would include like whatever your minimum royalties are, your systems fees, so on and so forth. If you're a part of a franchise that has an advertising pool, then that's something else you're going to want to look into. Operations and technology, what are you paying for every month for your scheduling software? What are you paying for your web app, professional services, cell phones, office staff, and everything else? So we're going to take all of this and add it all up, okay? And then once we've added all of this up, and we are ready to move along, now we have to figure this all out. So let's assume a bill rate of $26 per hour, and let's just assume that we're paying $13 for a caregiver. Now, these numbers can greatly vary from agency to agency, from state to state, from location to location. None of the advice given in this training is to be taken as legal or financial advice, and it's really up to you guys what you do with the information. But we're going with some basic assumptions here. All right. So let's say your average client is getting 30 hours a week. All right, based on this percentage. So that means that we have a 50% gross margin, but our total monthly expenses are $26,980 based on this example we gave here. So owner's salary, office payroll, everything here. And that means in order for you to break even on a month-to-month basis, at 30 hours a week, you need 16 clients, or 2,075 hours in order for you to break even on a $26,980 monthly expense. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to type them up here, and hopefully I'll be able to see them. If not, I'll be looking into the comments to see what your questions may be. All right. Other than that, you can get the break-even calculator along with a lot of other tools on on our website, and I'll show you that here momentarily. On our startup and planning for home care, it's currently at $4.99. And thanks for joining us. All the links will be in the description below as we get going. So thanks for joining us, and thank you for participating in today's event. And we look forward to sharing with you next time.